great pleasure to know that you're still with me on this morning on ITV, and I did say that we'll be looking at June 12, still on June 12, issues arising, looking at the recognition that the president gave on June 12, being declared as New Democracy Day, away from May 29. Well, discussing this important topic with me from my extreme left, I have the opportunity to welcome back one who has been away on vacation to United States of America, and for a couple of, for several months now, and it's good to know that he's back. Ahmed Momodu, many thanks for coming.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning, viewers.
How was your vacation?
Very well, thank you.
Great. And next, I have Pastor Ambassador Amos Arelwegbe. He is a public affairs analyst and erudite one for that. You're welcome.
Good morning, God bless you.
And also I have, do I call him a politician or a political analyst? I have Benson Odia. Many thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
All right, over now to what we have. I will be starting with you first, Ahmed Momodu, looking at what definitely you must have been catching up even while you were in America. You must have been catching up with events in the country and all that. But just recently, yesterday being June 12, the recognition of this by the president, do you see it as a welcome development?
Yes, Philip, I am elated. This is a long overdue correction of a political ill that has festered and grown out of proportion. Now, the action of the president in recognizing such a monumental watershed in our political history has begun the process, I think, of correcting a lot of things that we had out of sync. When the people come out so massively to give an individual a mandate, and that mandate is denied for such a long time, there has to be something wrong somewhere. And we have stumbled and we've fallen and we've tried to rise, but I think this is the beginning of a new dawn for the country.
Okay, but you and I never knew that the president wants to take this decision. Looking at what has been the first year, the second year, why now? Why taking the decision now? Because some see it as having a political undertone.
Well, I always say politics is about being political, Philip. What is the essence of politics but to be political? Now, when you correct a wrong, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to correct it. The important thing is that the injustice has been recognized and it has been put right. If it is such an easy decision to have taken, it must have been taken before now. Philip, we are talking of well over 20 years. Why has it taken so long if it's such an easy thing to do? And a day of an injustice is a day too long. So even if it has taken the president the last last 2 months of his tenure, it is still an injustice that has been corrected. And Nigeria is far, far better for it.
Okay, thank you. I'll still come back to you on that because there are a lot of follow-up questions arising from this. But to you, Ambassador Pastor Arelugbe, you've been following trends, you've been following events.
Yeah.
And even the human rights lawyer, Femi Falana, made it clear that the declaration of June 12 as Democracy Day puts paid to the hypocrisy of May 29. What do you think about that?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, this June 12 is long overdue. But why now? That's what most people are saying. Why now, at the tenure of... When he came on board in the first place, why didn't he put it in place? To me, to my own understanding, I believe it's a Trojan horse. It's a political gimmick. Sorry to say if I'm a digress from what they are saying. Because why now? Why not then?
That's a big question.
Yes, because doing it now is like trying to wake up the dead horse. It's not possible. But the June 12th definitely is laudable. Appreciating for that.
But you also appreciate that it's a great feat.
Yes.
For the president to do.
Yes.
Because if we look at historic events, no president has done this. We expected that even from 1999 up to 2014 or 2015, it would be done by other presidents. But
yes.
President Buhari did this.
Did it now. Why now? to me, I believe there's a political undertone on it. Because it's something that he should have done when he came in on power. He should have said, now, let's do this. I believe they are trying to use it to hold the West. Or, to, if possible, to make, because when he came in, during the time of Babangida, he was in power then. He was one of the executives. Why didn't he make the decision then? That is why I'm saying there's a political undertone towards this thing. But the June 12th, well, it's a laudable one. We say, well, it's long overdue. Okay. That's why I said it's long overdue.
Thank you. Benson, or do you differ in this argument?
Well, on the contrary, I want to align with Ahmed. You see, in Nigeria as a country, politics, the way we take politics, we take it as a kind of bitter politics. And I want to also let you know that in the major problem that is bedeviled Nigerian democracy is lack of credible opposition. The opposition we have today at the level of civil society, at the level of politicians, at the level of political party, their criticisms are very destructive in nature. Excuse me, let me tell you something. If you now criticize the state government that is using an asphalt to tie a road, you can also tell the state government that you can use a stone base, or you can also use other alternative measures as applicable in the southeast or northern part of Nigeria. That is the beauty of democracy. But today you see many people are asking questions. Why now? Why now? Whether Buhari is sitting office in May 29 next year and is giving them the honor, honoring Abiola and Kinjibe and the rest of others, let me say just 3 days of the expiration of his tenure has nothing to do. The most important thing that the injustice that has meted on this great icon, a person of Moshood Abiola, has been corrected. That is what is important. And it is very, very sacrosanct that what has been a major obstacle to national unity and national development as far as Nigerian democracy is concerned has been corrected by His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. And I want to tell you, I give him kudos. It's a very landmark achievement. And on my part, if this is only what he achieved in this fiscal year, is laudable. And I appreciate him, because if you look at Nigeria as it is today, a lot of states in the southwest are losing income because of June 12. Let me give you a very critical example. Yesterday, those state government offices and banks open here. If you go to Ondo here, Ondo is just about 40 minutes away drive from Benin, from this Benin bypass. The schools and other places were locked. If you even go to Ekiti, this has been the trend since the emergence of this present-day democracy since 1999. The Afenifere, the Yoruba governors usually declare June 12 as public holiday to honor a great icon, the person of Abiola. Today, since President Muhammadu Buhari has recognized June 12 as a democracy day, is a welcome development. Whether it has a political undertone, because any politician, any government, be it military, any decision or whatever, is political.
Correct.
That is my...
Well, some will also say that the president is failing in addressing the killings across the country. Is failing in addressing the economic hardship that the average Nigerian is faced with. And looking at 2019 presidential election and bringing this up shouldn't be what Nigerians should really be deceived by, as some argue. What do you make of that?
Well, Philip, definitely the majority of the people that accept the leadership of President Buhari will continue to do so. The ones that don't will probably continue to do so. The people we are talking about are the undecideds. Now, if you watch that program yesterday, my joy was the inclusivity. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, the president sat down, members of civil society, politicians, spoke truth to power. I don't know if you heard what Wole Soyinka told him. I don't know if you heard what Abiola's children told him, or Gani's children. They told him, these are your shortcomings. This is what the people are feeling. These are the places that you need to make corrections. And the president, in all humility, apologized for the shortcomings of the federal government. It has never happened in the history.
Okay, but how do we match that with him also giving credit to his administration when he said that he has even exceeded the promises he made to Nigerians? How do you marry that?
There is the limit that you can go when you make political promises and the reality. Unfortunately, the expectations of Nigerians was built to a point where they were untenable expectations. He promised to restore security. Security has been restored. 22 local governments that were excised from the Federal Republic of Nigeria have been returned.
When you say security has been restored,
yes.
In what capacity?
The major area of conflict when he came in was the northwest. I mean, sorry, the northeast. And that has largely been contained. We are talking of a landmass equal to or greater than the size of Paris, Philip. 22 local governments have been brought back into the fold of Nigeria. Now, what we are talking about are local skirmishes inside the country. This is bound to happen, and the voice of democracy allows these conflicts to come out. But how they are handled is an entirely different matter. Now, it is possible that some of these conflicts have been taken out of context. I'm not saying that a lot of it is not going on, but most of it has been taken out of context. We have lazy reporters, we have people who report the news as it affects them and how they want it to be portrayed. And so a lot of these conflicts, yes, they are there, but they are not being given the proper depth and analysis that they should be given. If you use Benue State for an example, that governor has not paid salaries in excess of 7 months. I'm talking of across board. Going from there, you now have the autonomy that the president has graciously signed. A lot of these things are going to be addressed, but it is going to take time. We are only talking about 3 years in the space of an administration that has come to correct things that have been going wrong since 1999. You are saying that it's too late. Why now? Why now? Why not now? We've had the interim government. We've had the government of Abdul Salam. We've had the government of Obasanjo. We've had the government of Yaradua. We've had the government of Jonathan. 5 governments. Yes. And they did not correct it. And you are asking, why now? Why not now?
All right, I will always come back to you. Anything that goes around comes around.
Yes, thank you.
Pastor Arelegwe, let's look at it logically. Yeah. Let's look at how things have been happening. Let's look at the killings that has been across the country. Let's look at the cries from Christians and even Muslims that have been saying that they've lost lives to insurgency, headsmen attacks, and all of this.
Yes.
The electorate seems to be the one that suffers. And whenever it's getting close to election here, there's always this impression that let's do this to captivate or attract the attention of the electorate. How do you see this playing out in 2019?
Well, you see, from my own point of view, it might be different from what they were saying. You see, when people make promises they cannot keep, because I remember when President Buhari was campaigning, he said he was going to give the youth some bursary. He said he was going to come security. He said he was going to do so many things. And if you look at it critically, after being sworn in, he now said he didn't make such promises again. When was such promises being made? In terms of security, well, I can say I can score him 40%, not even up to average.
40% isn't a pass mark.
If you say so, that is a D. But why I said so?
No, in some schools, 40% is F.
Yes.
In university education, for instance, a student who scores 40 has failed.
He's a failing
Look at from 45 upwards.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
so by your measure, it means he failed.
Yes. He's trying. Let me go use that word.
He's trying.
He's trying. because you know why I said so? Let me tell you. You know why I said so? Because if you look at the killings happening in the north, it's mostly on Christians. Like what happened in Onitsha. You get me now? But even in Edo State here, at think Okada, where some Fulani herdsmen were caught, we were told, we also learned again that some people on military uniform went to free them. Why? So it's like it has a religious undertone. There's an agenda under it. Each time the Christians cry out, why killing the Christians? Why killing the Christians? But if you get any of them, they will tell you, no, leave them alone, he's my brother. So that is why we are saying he has not tried enough.
Looking at security-wise.
Yes.
But you can also say that he has tried in terms of the economy.
The economy, no.
We witnessed a situation where we were far below the zero line.
Yes.
Where we were in recession. And today we celebrate that we are no longer in that category. Isn't that what should call for an applaud of the President Buhari's administration?
My brother, just like what he said, there's a difference between practical and being theoretical. You get me now? Now, talking about the light issue in the economic setting, light, the power, is the key function to any economy. Just day before yesterday, Fashola was saying that Nigeria has never enjoyed 24 hours light than any other government. Are you saying we're having constant light? No. Now, where are those industries? I know His Excellency, the governor of Edo State, is trying to bring some industries to Edo State, like the ceramic styles in Utesi and the rest of them. He's trying to bring this, and again we learned that Michelin or this tire sport, they are trying to come back. But without this power supply, that is what is our problem. If we can address this issue of power, this light, I believe it will create development and employment in the country.
Okay. Some are saying that why this diversion now close to 2019? Why this diversion? Let's look at the key areas that the president should have concentrated more attention on, like security and the economy.
Thank you, sir. You see, when you talk of issues, when we are saying South, we are Christians. The issue of herdsmen has becoming a contemporary security issues and a security threat to the sovereignty of this nation as a country. And the federal government, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, with the effort of the Inspector General Police, the Chief of Army Staff, and all the service chiefs have been doing their best in order to bring this situation to reduce this crime to the barest minimum. Like what you just said, Pastor, that some persons were arrested in Okada, some military men came. It's an aberration. It's uncalled for. Such statement I did not expect it from you, because you are making a statement that is capable of causing interreligious conflict. Let me tell you something. Are you not trying to when we are talking on this platform, we have to be very guided of what we say.
You just go straight to the point, because so that you don't hit or whip sentiments.
Thank you. The issue of power, you make mention of power that industries are coming. Mr. Governor Obasanjo is doing well by bringing industries in those states. That there's no power.
Okay, but don't you think you are digressing?
I'm not digressing, but very recently, the reason why I'm standing this way, you know, if you look at this discussion, is very balanced, for and against. Very recently, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, accused the former president of a very huge amount of billions of dollars.
When you say former president, who in particular?
Former president Olusegun Obasanjo, that was invested in the
power sector.
Power sector, and this money was misappropriated by his administration, and it's a bone of contention between the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the SY president Obasanjo. And you also discovered that Honorable Ndidi Elmelu was the chairman of House Committee on Power.
Okay,
who went to investigate all this.
But let me guide you. We are digressing. Now, that aspect, we will be looking at that later on.
Okay.
But let's look at the aspect of the president. Now, there are issues, definitely, except you want to close your eyes to it.
Okay.
There are issues about insecurity.
Okay.
There are issues about the headsmen still killing, as alleged.
Okay.
Now, don't you see that as what the electorate may use to decide 2019 and not the June 12 date as the new democracy day?
Thank you very much. You see, looking at using the security situation as a parameter, I want to align with Amen, that he said that those who have received the legitimacy, those who have applauded Buhari, will continue to support him, and those who are against him continue to be against him, and he is the majority. I want to align with him. Let me tell you something. If you look at Nigeria as a heterogeneous society, and with about 250 ethnic groups and almost about over 500 languages, governing Nigeria is not as easy as you think. But I want to also tell you that in spite of the security challenges...
When you say it's not as easy as you think, do you mean to say that the government is being overwhelmed?
No, that is not what I'm trying to portray. What I want to let you know that the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is doing well when it comes to security challenges. I want to let you know that at a time, bombing was the other day in this country. Just very yesterday at Adamawa, an ordinary local vigilante group in collaboration with Nigeria Army foiled an attempt by a suicide bomber to attack in a public place. This is as a result of the proactiveness of this president's administration in fighting insurgency.
Okay, it stopped the attempt. Stopped the attempt.
They stopped it. They foiled it.
Okay.
And the thing couldn't happen. So I want to tell you that this present administration is very, very proactive when it comes to security issues. And I want to also let you know that it was because of the negligence of the former government that made Boko Haram to exceed and to grow the way they grow. And I want to tell you the parameter that have put in place by this present administration in the next couple of months, the spite of killings by herdsmen will reduce to the very minimum.
All right, in case you're still watching us this morning on ITV Wednesday edition, and I've been having a chat with Ahmed Momodu, a political analyst, not wrong to say a politician, and also I've been having a chat with Pastor Ambassador Arelegbe Amos, and with Benson Odia. Don't forget that you can follow us on our Twitter handle at ITV Radio NG, and on our website at www.itvradioNigeria.com, and also like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/ITVRadioNG, and follow us and on what we're discussing about, and find a possible way to ensure that you follow us logically in this. We've been discussing on June 12, still on June 12 recognition as the New Democracy Day. But Ahmed Momodu, let's look at the National Assembly. I remember vividly last week when some argument arose from the House of Rep, where it was said that this should have been a bill sponsored by the president. Why make this declaration? Why don't you carry the National Assembly along? What do you have to say?
Well, Philip, clearly we are operating a government that is supposed to enthrone checks and balances. And to the extent that we have an executive presidency, it's clear, we should be clear on the parameters and the powers that derive from an executive presidency.
By the Constitution.
When an executive president comes out and makes a statement and gazettes it, it becomes the force of law. And he has done everything right. He has taken the will of the people and he has put it into motion. And there's nothing wrong if the National Assembly, which they eventually did, comes behind him and says, we also agree to what you have done.
Okay, let's come again. You said when he makes a declaration, it becomes a force of law.
Yes.
Now, you realize that we have 3 arms of government.
Yes.
Are you not by that trying to overshadow the legislative functions of the
not in this instance? We are talking about a declaration on an issue that comes under the executive powers.
Yes.
That is something that has to do with public holidays.
And powers
it comes to do with investitures.
Yes.
It comes to do with national honors and such like. He has not gone ahead and said this thing is the law of Nigeria. He simply has said this is a fact of our history and it should be recognized. So I don't think there is that much of any conflict in that issue.
Yes.
The president has come out clearly to say this is what we need to recognize as a country to move forward, and that's all he did.
Okay, actually, looking at what transpired last week,
yes.
Even the Speaker, House of Reps, Yakubu Dogara, made it clear that under the Public Holiday Act, the president has the power to declare a new public holiday.
Yes.
Which the president did.
Yes.
Okay, but another one. Let's look at the handover date, which has been May 29.
Yes.
Now, the declaration of June 12 as Democracy Day doesn't invalidate the handover date as May 29.
No, the handover date.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
The handover date is it's sacrosanct.
It's still May 29.
Yes, it's sacrosanct. It has become part of our political history.
Okay, but the argument here is that some are calling that since June 12 is now the new democracy day, let it be moved to become the handover date. What's your reaction about
I think we should have some clarity on that issue, Philip.
Yes.
When we are talking about Democracy Day, we are talking about the cumulative time that the military was in power. And as a result of the June 12 elections, Nigerians said we are tired of military rule and we want democracy. That is why we are so hooked on June 12 being Democracy Day. Now, the handover day is a whole different thing entirely. That was the date, there was the actual transition of power from the military to civilian governments. I think they are very clear and they are very distinct. The only sort of complication that we're having is President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo, chose May 29th out of thin air to make Democracy Day, when he could also have chosen June 12th as Democracy Day. So this is the conflict that we're having. But with time and settlement, these issues will be regularized, and Nigeria will be a much better place for it.
Okay, but don't you encourage that it should be sponsored as a bill in the National Assembly? Now, because with this, what you said, the handover date still remains like what is really obvious, because that act needs to be amended before it takes effect. Otherwise, it still remains as the handover date. That means that is a public. That's another public holiday.
Yes.
Having two public holidays, May 29,
yes,
June 12.
Yes.
Is it out of the normal to make June 12 the handover date and Democracy Day?
But Philip, you know, our democracy is evolving. We are talking of a democracy that is probably a little over a decade old. As the country develops, our culture and tradition in the practice and enthronement of democracy will continue to strengthen itself. We need all these dates to remind us where we are coming from, so that we do not travel down that road again. If there is a military, God forbid, there is even the attempt at a military takeover, with the enthronement of a day where Democracy Day is celebrated, that alone will form the nucleus of the resistance to such an attempt. We have a bright and beautiful past, and we need to carry it as we move into the future, so that we are aware of where we are coming from, and we will say proudly, we will never travel down that road again.
Okay. Pastor Arelugwe,
yeah, you see,
the aspect of the handover date,
yeah,
May 29
you
and
see,
June 12.
Dates are significant days.
Yes.
Having two holidays is not a problem, because June 12 has a distinct date of its own, while the handover day has its another distinct day. So having both of them as public holiday, I don't think there's a problem about it, except the legislature or the National Assembly has a contrary idea to that effect. It's like on Monday now, Friday and Monday have been declared public holiday, isn't it? So the same thing, if we have June 12 as a Democracy Day, which is well okay, and we have the handover date as another ceremonial day, I don't think there's a problem or any need for contest towards this.
All right.
So there are days on their own aspects which should be respected, okay, and which should be celebrated all over the world.
Okay. Let's look at the handover date, May 29.
Yes.
Now, there is this impression that, being that as it is, Democracy Day was recognized,
yes,
before now as May 29, and increasing the number of public holidays. Is it not like encouraging laziness?
Well, no.
Increasing the number of public holidays.
No.
Because we can also talk about the effect of public holidays affecting our economy. I want you to react to that.
No. If I tell you, we Nigerians, I don't believe. I said these days are significant. Just like what he said, they are memorable days that we must really welcome. Because if you lose their dates, it will go down the drain in history. So these are memorable dates that even our children's children will look up at. What happened in June 12th? So day of Abiola. What happened in May 29? Or June 20? You know, these are dates. They are specific and should be treasured.
Okay, so it's a welcome development.
Yes.
Having an extra day. All right. Your reactions of all of this?
Well, in pursuance of these dates, let me just make reference to the May 29. A relevant session of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic as amended stipulates that the day you were sworn in office, you now count your tenure from that day, and that is the reason why we have May 29 as a democracy day before now. But kudos to President Muhammadu Buhari, who has not officially recognized June 12 as the new democracy day. But prior to that, I believe that if there should be any need for Nigeria to have one single day as democracy day,
and handover date,
which is now the June 12, it is now within the powers that confers on the National Assembly to make a kind of a constitutional amendment that will now make them to transit, that will now make the governor and the president to transit from whatever. And it's even a blot on the Constitution. And I want to also tell you that, just like what the pastor has said, these days are national days and they are memorable days. Our children and our born children, grandchildren to come, they are historical days.
Yeah, but what we're saying here, is it not doable to have this in one?
No.
Because we had Democracy Day as the handover day, May 29. So is it not possible to make it one?
No, it's not possible. It will be a blunder to our democracy.
Okay.
The reason why it will be a blunder to our democracy, why? Because since the transition from military administration by Abu Salam, who relinquished power to ex-wife President Olusegun Obasanjo, and Obasanjo, who also handed over, as it were, to a democratically elected president, which served as a precedent, as it were. You discover that since 1999 we have been using May 29.
Okay, so the sequence may be altered.
Yeah, no. What we clamor for as a Nigeria, as a civil rights activist, as politicians, as senators, now is that these 2 days are very important. They are very notable days as far as the development and the political history of this country is concerned. These 2 days should be well celebrated. Then on May 29 should continue be the handover day of transition of government from one president, one governor to the other. Then the celebration of Democracy Day should be on June 12, which means on May 29, we cannot call May 29 Democracy Day. It's going to be a handover day. Then Democracy Day will be celebrated on June 12.
Well, good to know. We love public holidays here in the country. At least that shows that we have more days to recognize, to commemorate, and it's a welcome development. Well, let's not look more on this because we've been dwelling on this for quite some time now. But let's also look at the issues, like what Benson Odia just raised before now over the face-off between Buhari and Obasanjo. We'll be looking at that. It's sacrosanct, looking at what transpired last week when the former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, said that his life is at risk over the allegations that investigations are coming up against him by the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. And he's feeling that he may be unlawfully prosecuted in that respect. But doing that is also a crux of what we'll be discussing. Ahmed Mamadou, looking at that, what do you think we could translate? Because we've been having issues where a lot of persons have been saying that the anti-graft prosecution of some who have allegations about this are being one-sided by the present administration of Muhammadu Buhari. And this aspect of former President Olusegun Obasanjo crying out over this, don't you see that it calls for attention?
Yes, it calls for attention for every well-meaning citizen of this country to give 100% support to the administration of President Buhari to pursue to the legal maximum anybody that has committed any crime against the Federation. And why we need to say this is, the simple understanding to me is, if everybody has been partisan before now, we will have the prisons full of people who have committed crimes. So let President Buhari, even if he's partisan, let him partisan and remove those ones. then another person will come and partisan and remove Buhari's own.
Okay,
Yes.
but remember what transpired. Remember the letter that former President Obasanjo sent to the president.
Yes.
Now, if this happens, well, don't you think there will be meanings to it?
Philip, we need to be clear about the things that we say. Former President Obasanjo wrote that letter as a private citizen to the sitting president. It is well within his rights to write and say whatever he wishes. That is simply a personal opinion. But the matter of fact is, the sum of the responsibility of this country falls on the falls on the person of President Buhari,
Yeah.
who has now, in his own magnanimity, responded in like. You must remember that there was a response, official response to that letter, where all the concerns of the former president were addressed step by step.
In that letter.
So the plus and 1 + 1 has now equaled 2, as far as that letter is concerned. Now, if the president has raised, former president has raised other concerns, they will be addressed in due course. For him to come out publicly when he has recourse, this is a former president. He still has SSS guards, he still has police guards, he still has the military, all of them in his vicinity, and he's saying that his life is in danger, then he needs to make a formal complaint to the IG of police.
Yes.
And all other law enforcement agencies. Of course, he's a statesman whom we cherish. His voice is cherished, his personality is cherished. So if his life is in danger, it must be addressed post-haste.
Okay. Some argue, Pastor Arelugbe,
Yes.
some argue that, well, if he needs to be prosecuted, if he needs to face any court of
Trials.
law, then he should do that. Because you remember vividly in his book, My Watch, on 96th page, where he said that he prefers to be jailed by Buhari than to allow Jonathan to ruin the country. What do you say about that?
Yeah, you see, this is what I like saying. If anybody, any public office holder is guilty of any sin or crime, let that person face the wrath of the law.
No one is
No
above the
matter
law.
who you are,
Yes.
you are not above the law. Remember, when I was campaigning, I made this. I said, if I am the one, if I'm guilty, I will pay the price. Not until we come to this term that every public office holder must give account of their stewardship. We are still far from democracy.
Yes.
But don't you see it as like a witch hunt?
No.
In the sense that,
When you
why
are
now?
guilty,
Why,
if you are
why-
innocent, because there's this parable that says, if you don't have skeleton in your cupboard, you know to be afraid for search.
Yes.
Which we know, you and I know, that all the ask some of them to declare that this is still worship. Ask any of them, whether both the past and even the present, if they are not transparent. That's why we are finding it difficult to move on in our democracy.
Okay, but
because they are not
Arelugbe-
being transparent.
Arelugbe, let's look at what even the president said last month.
Yes.
Over the issues about which was coming like a response to the letter, where he mentioned the fact that even looking at the $16 billion as alleged of what the former president
What transpired.
Obasanjo, yes, used in the power sector.
Yes.
Now, if that was said by the president, even before the letter was brought, why didn't he pull out investigations and trials on the former president? Why, after the letter he sent that? It seems like a witch hunt politically.
Well, you see, there are many approaches. Everybody has his own techniques
Thank you.
to approach issues. There are some issues that will come to me now that I might, let's take a drastic action now. Or there are some issues that will say, no, let's look at it closely. Let's investigate to check if what they are saying is true or false. Not just to respond spontaneously. But we have to look, that's why I said, if they are free, if they are not guilty, whoever is, shouldn't be afraid. And like what he said, his life is at risk. By who? Who is after you? That means your hands are not clean. Because it says, if you must come to equity, you must come with clean hands. And as he's doing this, just like what my brother just said, as for Muhammad Buhari is saying, even if I leave, if I'm guilty, prove me. Then we don't know that our government, we are heading somewhere. Because you cannot tell me, oh, I'm doing this, I'm prosecuting you, whereas I know my hands are not clean. There's definitely the law of karma will catch up on you. Someone else, because he will not be there forever. Someone else will come.
Government is a continuum.
Yes.
So whoever is, let's start it as a precedent,
Yes.
that whoever is guilty must face the wrath of
Must
the
face
law.
the law.
Okay, thank you.
If you are a witch, it's only when you are a witch you will be afraid of witch hunts.
Thank you. Okay, based on your reaction over that.
Well, my reaction is that looking at the person of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, even my principal, Major General Charles Ariavi, as a retired military Major General, has
Go straight to the point.
Just corpus of security.
Just go straight to the point, please.
Talk less of a former president. He has DSS, he has police, he has army, even navy and so-called, even in his other farm, everywhere. For him to just come out to say that his life is in danger, it's an aberration. It's uncalled for. It's an attempt to divert the attention of Nigerians. It's an attempt to heighten the politics, because his actions are not civilized. Let me just tell you something. Whether he likes it or not, just like what my friend has said, in this present Nigeria, we are moving somewhere. If I am a commissioner today, let me siphon public fund, let me divert it. Tomorrow, when ADP or any ROC is the governor of this state, they will hunt after me and prosecute me. So that is a good starting.
But do you see anything wrong in the letter he wrote?
The letter he wrote is his own personal opinion. As a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, even me, that is sitting here in Benin, has right to write the president. So he writes letter, whether he writes letter, whether he writes a book on Buhari's administration, has no effect. His actions are null and void. That issue has no effect on whether Buhari. It's an infringement of his fundamental human rights. The same Obasanjo clamor for a tenure inauguration. Both Obasanjo and Buhari has the same historical and political antecedent. Both of them were former military head of state. Obasanjo ruled for 8 years, after which he used one of our own, a former senator, to sponsor the bill to amend the constitution to enable him to contest for third tenure. You now writing to the president that you cannot continue for second tenure. It's uncalled for. It's own constitution. It's an aberration.
Well, I think he has every right to write a letter to the
He
president.
has right to write a letter.
Let's not overflow that.
It's his own personal opinion.
Okay, but as we round off, what do you see as the face-off? What do you see as the effect it may have on the coming 2019 presidential election?
The face-off between Obasanjo and Buhari has no any effect. Just like I used before, none avoid that issue. Let me tell you, Nigerians are wise. You cannot use political propaganda to misinform Nigerians. Let me tell you something. What we see today, just because corruption is fighting back. Buhari is fighting corruption, corruption is fighting back. Let me tell you, this same unscrupulous element, they are the one truncating the fight against corruption.
Well, when you say unscrupulous element, please be guarded. I don't know who you're calling that.
I did not mention name, but let me also tell you.
But I want to take that as your submission.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let me also tell you that
You have 10 seconds to
the
do
economic policies of this present administration as it is today, we as Nigerians, we cannot benefit it today. In the nearest future, like in the next 2 years, Nigeria will know the kind of president that is ruling today, based on the farming and agricultural policy, the monetary policy, and the other incentives, the present programs and policies of this government.
Thank you.
And I believe that Nigeria, a new Nigeria is possible with Buhari.
Thank you very much, Benson Odia. Thank you for coming and for being erudite on that. Benson Odia is a politician. No doubt. I don't need to tell anyone about that. All right. Okay. As we round off, Arelugbe, what do you see as having an effect on the 2019 election? Looking at the face-off between Buhari and Obasanjo, and then the posthumous award to late MKO Abiola. What's the effect on 2019 election?
Well, the posthumous award, if I may say something concerning that, is based on my own feeling, my own idea. Just like what I said before, it's coming late. It's coming late. It's like you insult me publicly, you now come and be apologizing to me in the bedroom. It has no more effect. To me, that's my own understanding. And again, that of the face-off between the president and Obasanjo. Well, I believe both of them have something that is yet to be revealed to all of us. In politics, everybody has his own opinion. I can come and tell you, oh, this man is witch hunting me, this man is after my life. I can be crying a wolf cry.
When there's no wolf.
When there's no wolf. You get me now? Just to get sympathy from people.
Yes.
We've had cases of whereby a political party, I don't want to mention any party now, we create problem for themselves and accuse the other one and say, ah, he's the one after me. We've had cases like that. Why? To gain sympathy. Not until we come out to say the truth. Let's call a spade a spade. By the way, like what I was discussing earlier on with my friend, I told him, we political parties, we are all one family. Why did I say so? We are all Nigerians. We all want the betterment, the good for Nigerians. We shouldn't see ourselves as enemies. And I welcome if there's an opposition, should be able to say, and the present sitting government should be able to appreciate any opposition to tell you whatever you are doing is not right and take redress from it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pastor Ambassador Arelwegbe Amos, for coming. Thank you, Benson Odia, for coming. I believe Ahmed Mamadou will be surprised why I'm not taking his last words on this segment. It's because you will be joining me in the next discussion segment, which will still border on June 12th, and as issues arise. Well, thank you. It's been lovely to have you join me. Well, it's still this morning on ITV Wednesday edition with Philip Omogupo. Don't you go away.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Well, it's still TMI Wednesday edition, and discussion still on June 12th with me. I have at my extreme left, I always start from my extreme left, I have the state youth leader of the People's Democratic Party, Architect Thaddeus Irabo. Many thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, and welcome.
And of course,
good morning, viewers at home.
And of course, Ahmed Mamadou is still with me. Thank you for staying with me.
Thank you, Philip.
First, let's look at your appreciation of the June 12 recognition as Democracy Day, Architect Thaddeus.
Okay, I will say the June 12 recognition of our hero of democracy, MK Abiola, is a welcome development, but at the same time, there are a lot of issues generating from there. First is an afterthought, is a way of trying to galvanize votes of the Southwest, knowing fully well that the present administration has failed Nigeria, failed the people of the Southwest, and are looking for a way to see how they can gather votes. At the same time, I would say, is a way of appropriating, at the same time reprobating. Because if the presidency, for example, served the present president of this country, President Muhammadu Buhari, served under the Abacha regime, the same regime that deprived MKO Abiola of his presidency. He served there, and at the same time, he is the one that is also celebrating the same man. I think is something that we need to be worried about. It has a lot of political undertone to it. So that's why we are looking at it from another angle. Knowing fully well is a welcome idea, but it's long, I think it's belated, should have been done way before now, because at the moment, MK Abiola is a hero of this democracy that we are presently enjoying in this country. Okay, because he fought for it and died for it. And if you even look at the event yesterday, there were so many people that should have been recognized. Somebody like Chief Tony Aneni, that was the party chairman of that party, wasn't even invited in that program. Are you telling me that is a way of honoring anybody? The truth of the matter, it was an APC show. They needed to just do something to brainwash Nigerians again. It was a show of shame, if you ask me.
Okay, well, let's look at this aspect, because you mentioned the fact that it has a political undertone.
A lot of political
anything that is done in Nigeria, there's always meanings to it. But being that as it is, even when PDP was in government for 16 years, they didn't wake up to do this. Now it's been done by the president in APC's government, and you calling it a political undertone. Why you started first by saying that you appreciate that
it's a welcome idea, because
but why didn't the PDP government in 16 years carry this on?
Good question.
Yeah, you were saying why did the PDP in 16 years? That's a different question for another day. First of all, it has to come from a mindset of, okay, we want to do this. Since it came from him, there was also a Yoruba man that was a president. I didn't see it as a major issue. Because even
when you say Yoruba man,
a Yoruba man that was a president.
But he was PDP.
That was no doubt that he was a PDP member, no doubt. But he didn't see it like that. Because if you even listen to the interview with Mustafa, you see that even some of those people sold out their own. Because after Abdul Salam settled in, you see that a lot of things settled in. Nobody was agitating for that.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly cut in. I know you have a lot to say. We will be doing that after this time out, but let's quickly take your reactions before we round off on this.
Of course, Philip, it's laughable that somebody with PDP affiliations would cast any kind of aspersion on any sort of governance or any sort of incompetence or any sort of lack of vision or any sort of morality or any sort of financial. They should not even talk. This has come, it has come to stay. No, they shouldn't make those kind of statements.
What statement?
Unless you have no sense of irony, no sense of shame, and no sense of introspection. We have come to the point where the majority of Nigerians are happy that their voice is finally being heard.
Okay, but the aspect of they shouldn't make such statements shouldn't arise, because in as much as we live in a free world, they can make statements, but you have to counter it.
No, I didn't say they. I said they unless they have no sense of irony, no sense of shame, to talk about why it is being done, when you had ample opportunity to do it, and you neglected to do it.
But before now, you agree with me that there has been issues, because we can't take away the fact that there are issues, despite the fact that, yes, this welcome development is being greeted by a lot of Nigerians, but it doesn't take away the issues of insurgency, the issues of the herdsmen killings and all that, and the need for the president to rise up on this situation.
I quite agree, and I agree with you also when you said earlier that there will always be issues. And that is what governance is about. Governance is something that you continue to address the challenges as they arise. Okay. And that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. Esther, TMI, there's a little bit of tussle in terms of an argument here, but we're going to straighten up as we round off on that after this timeout. Stay with me.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Well, still on this morning on ITV, straight to Thaddeus, Architect Thaddeus. Looking still on the issue of June 12, you remember vividly that the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka was saying that the chief tormentor of the one giving the award to late M.K. Abiola, that his chief tormentor is still being celebrated by the awardee.
President.
What do you have to say that?
Like what I mentioned it just now, that President Buhari benefited a lot from President Abacha's regime. And that means, if, for example, you benefited from a system, and right now you are awarding, that's why I use the word you are appropriating at the same time appropriating, because you accepted what happened to M.K. Abiola, and at the same time, you are also honoring the same M.K. Abiola. But we must look at what M.K. Abiola represents to Nigeria. He still remains the hero of our democracy. Is this present administration practicing real democracy? That should be the problem. In a military setting, an enemy is perceived and that enemy is shot. But in a democracy, an opposition is your enemy, but is not shot, but is given free hand to operate. But right now, you see clampdown on opposition from state to state in order to weaken opposition. That is no longer democracy. That is tyrannocracy. Because you are becoming a tyrant in a democracy setting, in a democratic setting, and it's not allowed. It should be condemned. Allow free hand. Jonathan practiced true democracy, whether he honored the late Abiola or not, but he gave hand to opposition. He engendered the facilitation of the coalition that formed the APC. He would have been able to destroy them. He would have been able to pick one or two and send them to jail so that that coalition would not work. But he allowed them. That is true democracy. You can't be fighting every voice that raises up his own voice against you. Even the former president just wrote a letter telling you that these are the sufferings of Nigeria, and listing everything that is happening in the country. That you met fuel price at 87 naira, is now sold at 145 naira. You met dollar at 1 naira to 187. Right now, it grew to the extent of 1 naira to 50 naira per dollar. When he enlisted this, he said, you've contributed your quota. Leave the stage, let other people that can handle this thing come in. Right now, you are fighting him up and down. Is that how to be democratic in this system, if we are celebrating democracy, we must follow everything that democracy entails.
Okay.
If it entails freedom of speech, you allow freedom of speech. If it entails freedom of association, you allow freedom of association. You don't fight people to be democratic.
Thank you.
Give free hands to the opposition. That is what is democracy.
Thank you, Architect Thaddeus. What's your reaction over this?
My reaction is to recall to everybody's attention, you, Philip, and Architect, that when the wife of the president came out and criticized the president, everybody saw it as freedom of speech. If the wife of the president can come out and criticize her own husband, what more freedom can you enjoy? Nigerians have never enjoyed as much freedom of speech as they currently do under this administration. To claim otherwise is disingenuous, to say the least. Now, the spirits of the ills that the PDP has done over time is what is not allowing them to speak out. Because when they come out and talk, people will remind them of the opportunities they had to make this country better, and they failed woefully. So now when you come, I allow you to speak, allow
making food available.
Allow me to speak.
Go ahead.
The cumulative destruction of 16 years is what has come to the point where fuel is outpriced, the dollar is finally finding its level, our foreign reserves are growing, probity has been introduced into government.
Sorry, how much was the foreign reserve?
Okay, Philip, are you going to allow me? Are you going to allow me to address?
Okay, go ahead.
So when we are talking about a gradual restructuring and rearranging of the country, the president is in control and he is allowing democracy to thrive. As we witnessed yesterday, the actual heroes of democracy were brought to the front and they spoke. They had an interaction one-on-one where the president and other members of civil society, both the opposition and otherwise, spoke to him and they exchanged ideas. This is what we want. We want a robust system.
All right, thank you. I'll come back to you. As we round off, as we come back to you. Thaddeus, let's look at the effect that this may have. The award, the face-off between Obasanjo and Buhari, it may have on 2019 presidential election.
Okay, please, let me start from here first. He said opposition was also
You have 1
there.
minute to do all of this.
He said opposition was there to also brainstorm on the way forward in democracy. I want my brother here to name one person. If the leader of the opposition group, which is Prince Uche Secondus, was not invited in that meeting, I don't see any other opposition person that you can.
The idea that it is only PDP that forms opposition.
No, that is the major opposition we have in this country at this moment.
No, PDP is disarray. You cannot call PDP opposition.
Okay, I think
they don't even know where they are going.
Let architect.
PDP doesn't know where they are going.
Let architect Thaddeus please have the floor.
If PDP is in disarray, were we able to convey a national convention free of rancor? Your same party that is not in disarray could not even conduct a world congress.
Okay,
there were killings, there were shootings.
What do you see as the impact this may be having on the 2019 presidential election in 10 seconds?
Sincerely, I don't think it will change anything. This administration is going back to where they came from.
At least
why the truth? You said?
At
No,
least
the truth of the matter, 2019 is just around the corner. And the true people that owns the country, the people that the masses actually want, will be in government come 2019, which is the PDP.
Thank you, Thaddeus. You've said much. Thank you for that. Your submission on this as well.
Permit me to quickly laugh. Ha 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 ha. PDP going back into power is like resurrecting the bones of Nebuchadnezzar. It's not going to happen. The government of Muhammadu Buhari has brought us from the precipice, and we are going forward. We are marching daily. Wow. Every day. And let me just quickly point this out in case it missed the viewers' attention. The landmark signature that the president appended to the law that has now allowed proper definition of democracy. Each of the arms of government is going to be funded separately and independently of each other.
Thank you. I think what we need as a country is harmony, whether we have the PDP or the APC. I think both parties should work together for the common good of the people. Thank you, Architect Thaddeus Irabo, for coming.
Thank you very much.
It's awesome to know that you really had the show with me.